there you are.
Hello.
Hello.
Let me put this camera on.
Sure.
Ta-da!
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
You
And
too. Let me just switch some. I'm just switching the AC off in here.
that's fine.
I'm in my little studio,
I see
um,
that.
and I have AC in here, but I have to switch it off intermittently because it's a little noisy. So
Oh, okay. Can you hear me fine?
yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. Well, first, thank you so much for doing this Q&A with us. My
Oh, thank you.
they're super excited. So I think Zoom only lets us do 40 minutes at a time. So if for some
Yes,
reason we go over, it might disconnect. We can connect again. But
sounds
uh,
good.
well, how's your day going so far? You're in LA, right?
Yes, yes, very sunny so far. Very hot.
It's super hot here in Texas. We have the
Oh
sun.
my gosh, you're in Texas? Oh
Yes,
wow.
I
Oh God.
contemplated on like going to LA myself, but it was just such short notice. I'm like, okay, let's just do a Zoom. Okay, so
Yeah, that's a different heat, isn't it?
yes, very humid. Okay,
Yes.
so I guess let's get started. I think one of the big questions we had. So I did a little research. I wrote everything down. You have a total of 24 voices that you have in Hogwarts Legacy, which is huge compared to the others who have only done like a few.
Is
So
that what it is? I didn't know exactly the number. Is
yes,
it 24?
24. And I was just amazed. I wrote all of them down. I was like, okay, that's a lot more than I expected. So I guess the big
Wow.
question from the fans is, how did this happen? Like, how did you get the audition? Was it for one voice and they just started throwing you around? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, this actually goes back to 2018, if you can believe that, in the early stages of the game. And I think one of the first characters they knew for sure that was in it was Nearly Headless Nick. Hello, right. So I that's the one I auditioned for first, and it sort of happens exactly the same way for most of the big games and work we do out here. My agent, um, Warner Brothers, reached out to my agent and asked if I would audition for this. Obviously, being very British, and I'm of course very familiar with John Cleese, of course, who's the actor, wonderful actor behind Nearly Headless Nick, and of course from the Monty Python era. But it was interesting because they didn't want an exact sound alike. That wasn't really what they were trying to achieve. They just wanted the essence of the character. So yeah, so that was the very first audition I did. And then, as you guys know, with Hogwarts Legacy, it's so rich with canon characters and new characters that as the production progressed and more characters were written and storylines were fleshed out, um, they said, "Hey, could you audition for this character?" And then what happens sometimes when you're actually in the session, they'll go, "Hey, we've just got this character come in. Can you do, a Scottish accent? Right, great. Or can you do an elf? Not an elf, a goblin. That's a different movie." So yeah, some of it was very organic, actually in the sessions, but a lot of the characters were sent to me to audition for. So yeah, but it was over the course of basically about 5 years.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
a lot. Okay,
yeah,
that makes sense because it's
yeah,
just mind-boggling how many characters you voiced in here, and you voiced Arn, Garneth. There was a Goblin Loyalist. You got some background Dark Wizard. So they just
yeah,
started throwing characters at you. You're like, all right, let's do it.
yeah. And I've got a fairly good reputation here for being able to do voices because not every voice actor does a lot of voices. And some are just great at doing their voice. Peter Cullen springs to mind for Optimus. He's just amazing. So yeah, so I had a reputation for doing voices, so they knew they could throw quite a bit at me. And of course, other actors like JB Blanc and N. Rytel, who are awesome guys too, and people that I've looked up to as well in the industry. So yeah, we all got thrown quite a few characters, and I got to say, it's one of the few games that I've been able to do where there've been such a variety of characters. It's been just so much fun, so much fun.
Right, right. And that brings to the next question of, well, I guess it's a two-part. Was there a lot of difficulty going through so many characters? And I've seen some of your answers on TikTok and other interviews about your favorite characters. I know one of them was Peeves because he's just fun. He's just
Yes.
out of pocket. So I guess was there a lot of difficulty? Who's your favorite and your least favorite to voice in the game?
Yeah, there's never a least favorite because they're being a voice actor, we have that we have that luxury, if you like, to be basically put a voice to anything.
Right.
And that's always just a fun process, is figuring out those voices. And I think the canon ones, especially like I said with Nearly Headless Nick, there and the Sorting Hat, of course. Ah, yes. You know, wonderful Sir Leslie Phillips laid such a wonderful foundation for that character. So those were easier because I had a bit of a mold to guide me. But characters like Peeves, definitely we really needed to figure out. He was probably one of the most challenging was Peeves, because even though he is an annoying poltergeist, and that's his MO in life, is just to annoy and antagonize the students. It had to be a voice that wasn't so shrill that you just couldn't even listen to him. So I knew when the game came out that people had said, "Oh my God, Peeves is so annoying." I thought, "Oh, that's good." What I didn't want to hear was, I can't even, as soon as I hear his voice, I want to switch off. So we couldn't go too shrill him.
Right.
And he had to have this sort of mischievousness about him. So that's where I sort of started from. So it was all just sort of sneaking around and having that kind of playful banter with him. And because the writing was just so good for him as well, as writing across the board was incredible for this game, but for him, this melody that he has, this rhythmic nature to him. So I just started throwing out some voices, and we had a great director, Natalie Gray, who was also one of the senior writers on the project. And she just had such a great ear to not only recognize the right voice for the character, but also to recognize that it wouldn't be too off-putting for the people playing the game. Because, as with characters in video games, they repeat a lot. And so that she was able to really hone in and think, oh yeah, that voice is perfect for that character. And Peeves, as I say, was the most challenging because he's all naughty. He's always up there. So we had to really play with those melodies, so it wasn't all up here and right. Like, oh gosh, that's just really. So annoying is good.
Annoying, but not too much.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay, that's perfect. Right. I guess let's jump into what you're kind of known for now on my page. Is of course Victor Rookwood, which is an excellent evil character. Some people think he should have had more screen time, which I agree. He's a great character. I'm so sad that kill him off. Yes. But one of the two questions is, what made you voice Victor the way you did? And what is your opinion on how much love Daddy Rookwood has gotten on TikTok?
Yeah. First of all, I love that. We'll get back to that. I've got his wand here as well.
Oh, you have this wand.
Yeah, this is Victor's wand. This was made by a very talented wand maker on TikTok, Windermere Wand Shop, and you can find him on TikTok. But I commissioned him to make this. This was the creators at Avalanche very kindly forwarded the blueprints for this wand. So it's about as screen accurate as you can get. So that was a lovely addition. But it's very interesting when you're given a breakdown of a character, and they're obviously clearly the villain or one of the villains, obviously Ranrock being the other. There's always this sort of moment of contemplation of, well, he's a villain. I don't particularly want to play him as a classic kind of villain. So I went in the opposite direction, and I felt that his evilness was more inner than outer. And I found it a little bit more unnerving that Victor would always seem very calm and collected. And then with those lines where he would say, "Can't drink butterbeers forever." It's a very threatening line that is even more threatening when it's underplayed. So that's how I approached Victor Rookwood. Everything would be more internalized and underplayed, made him more chilling. And so he was a lovely character to voice, because I think when you're processing things from inside, it almost feels a lot more complex than just, Peeves is very external in his delivery, and I would say Victor Rookwood is very much, you really think, ooh, what really is going on inside that head of yours. And I felt there would only be a couple of moments that you would see him explode. And I was taught very early on in my voice acting career to treat villains sometimes like a coiled snake. And every now and then you will snap, but then you'd pull back. And it shows the audience a level of control. But you just don't know when they might unhinge. And so that's that's a lot more interesting to watch, rather than the typical, villain that's all, externalizing everything. So that's how I approached Victor Rookwood. And I was just thrilled how it all sort of came out, because from our standpoint, recording these, we don't record them chronologically either. So we record them as and when each scene is finished, but they don't, a bit like movies as well, they don't shoot them chronologically. So I was just thrilled how everything came together with Victor Rookwood, and even his wardrobe and everything. I agree. I would love to have done more storyline with Victor. I think he's just a wonderful villain, very debonair.
He is
well dressed.
Very dapper, is what they say a lot. And you did a great job voicing him. You did absolutely fantastic. We love Victor Rookwood. Despite being the villain, you wanna really hate him, but you want to be able to be like, oh man, I want more of him though. So
yes, you either want to know where he shops for his clothes, or you think, I could have a butterbeer with this guy.
Yes, exactly.
And in answer to your earlier question, I love what you guys are doing with Daddy Rookwood. I love it. It's just great. It gives me goosebumps. I'm glad that a character that I've helped add life to is resonating. You know, even with the short screen time, if you like, with Victor Rookwood, I'm glad that he made such an impact. You know.
Yes, yes, absolutely. You have a lot of fans with Victor. Danny Brookwood is very much loved. People want more of him. A lot of the time when I start showing him off, people are thinking, "Really, Victor?" But then people are starting to roll, and they're like,
Right.
"Okay, maybe." So they absolutely love you, and they're super excited that I get to talk to you today. Let's see what other questions we have going on. So, before you came to Warner Brothers and you started voicing Hogwarts Legacy, were you familiar with the Harry Potter fandom beforehand, or did you have to do some research?
No, that was another good thing. I was very much a fan of the movies. In fact, we've just watched them almost all of them again. I think we're on the last two episodes, and I still feel they still stand up today. They, you know, you're looking nearly, well, over 20 years now. I think wasn't the first one 2001 or around that
Yeah,
time.
it seems like 2 decades. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and they still stand up now. They're just so brilliant. You know, all the directors, Chris Columbus, they did such a wonderful job. And I know they're different, not vastly, but they are different from the books. But I still think, as a telling, I still think that they're timeless. So I certainly needed no persuasion to really want to be involved with this game, and it was a world I was already very familiar with. You know, of course, I've done some research because I couldn't, I didn't know a lot of the spells verbatim and stuff like that. Uh, but it was very much a pleasure to do that research. And now to create this different chapter in the story, which I thought was really a smart move to pull it back 100 years or so, to give us that creative freedom of, even though Hogwarts hasn't changed in 1,000 years, the people passing through it have, and this was just a nice chance to give even more backstory, and of course with characters like Peeves, who have had very little screen time, if any. I think he was in a very early PC game, I think. But this was the proper sort of real proper fleshing out of what he would look like if we did see him in a film or a TV show. So I think that was great. And I really do have to take my Rookwood hat off to the developers at Avalanche. I mean, you can't do this kind of a game with this amount of fandom without actually having fans of Harry Potter work on the game. Right. You know, you just can't. And there were so many really huge almanacs of the franchise working on this game, and I don't think they left any stone unturned. I think they ticked everything. You know, even sadly with Hagrid's passing, Robbie Coltrane, to even just give him a little nod in there with that little, tombstone. Right. By Hagrid's hut. It was just, and Alan Rickman, I think there was even a little nod to Alan Rickman. It was just, just beautiful, just beautiful. And it's funny because I look at a lot of games and there is a beauty in the design. They really are incredible. But for me, I think this game, there were so many things that really just took my breath away with this game. And if you ever get a chance to go to Scotland, I think this was as close a rendering of the Scottish Highlands as you could get. It really is a stunning part of the world. And I think they did an exceptional job of recreating that.
That was a thing, that the game is very beautiful. There's so much detail.
Yeah.
All the fans have noticed all the Easter eggs. You're right. There is Severus Snape in there, Dumbledore.
Yeah.
Hagrid's in there. So that's why a lot of the people who are already in the fandom, they loved it so much. I
Yeah,
admittedly I love the movies, but I've never really jumped into the Harry Potter fandom before. And then
right.
this game just kind of threw me to a loop. Like I am just 100% in now. So
Yeah, yeah.
talking about the game though, so this has blown up. It's huge. There's so many players. There's more players to come. So did you expect this project to get so big? And do you have any future projects that you're excited about or proud of?
Yeah. I mean, you know, whatever you work on, you always hope that it's going to be successful. And you know, I think the odds were stacked in its favor because of it being in the wizarding world and revolving around Hogwarts, and also um, very early on, I think I got a grasp of just how immersive this needed to be um, uh, for this game. So I was excited almost from day one, hearing about this game and how expansive it was going to be, and that it was going to give not only gamers a great experience, but obviously Harry Potter fans, it
Right.
was going to deliver the game that they've wanted, the experience, the immersiveness. So I thought it was going to be a success, but it's a very pleasant surprise that it's been this big. But having said that, having watched so much, I don't play video games myself, but I've watched so much content, and I have watched a lot of playthroughs. I watched all the cutscenes, which was about 5 hours or so. Um, Having seen all of that, it's like, wow, you know, I'm not surprised after watching it, and as, of course, you know, as far as people actually playing the game as well, you know, it's not a surprise, but still a pleasant one, if that makes sense.
Of course. And so that answered my other question. So you don't really play the game on your end, but you've seen everything, you've been part of it. So you understand all of it already.
Yeah, yeah, I do, and I wanted to, you know, because you know, working on this one for so long, um, and seeing sort of little elements of it from time to time, and then doing the motion capture for it, and seeing those scenes develop. Um, yeah, there was definitely a much more of an intrigue to see how this actually uh, turned out, how the end product, if you like, uh, came out. So yeah, I was definitely very much interested to see all the different cutscenes. I mean, you know, I know games have a lot of cutscenes, but this had a lot of cutscenes. I mean, that's basically like another trilogy in movies with, you know, over 5 hours of cutscenes.
Right. Yes, it is just like its own movie, and there's lots of
Yeah.
about franchises, which brings another question of I know even if you knew there was more, you can't tell us, but if there is more like DLC or a sequel to the Hogwarts Legacy game, are you hoping or excited to be part of it in the future if that happens?
Oh, I would love to be. I will throw my sorting hat into the mix. Absolutely, I'd jump at the chance, whatever it is. You know, yeah. I just hope they continue the story and continue the character arc and stuff. I think there's just still so much more to explore, and you know, it's such a huge world that J.K. Rowling created, that I think there's, you know, so much more to be explored. So yeah, it's kind of like watch this space on that one. You know, I hope it has a life on the big screen, on the little screen, on the video game screen. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's a great franchise so far, and I'd love to see more happen with it. Um,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
get to some questions that other people had as well.
yeah.
Gosh, there's so many. um, so you've been acting and voice acting for a long, long time. And I know I've also written down some of the video games that you've acted in. Of course, Call of Duty, the Remnant, Warhammer, Forsaken. You've had a lot of experience. But part of your past, which a lot of people don't know about, is that you enjoy comedy. And so if you had the chance to go back on stage for comedy and do things like that along with the voice acting, would that be something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, having done stand up for a decade or more, it just doesn't go away. You might not be on stage doing stand up, but your head doesn't know the difference. So you still keep seeing life through these stand up lenses. And often I'll just be chatting and somebody say, "That's a really good bit." You're like, that would be a good bit, and I'm not even performing right now, and it's like, oh, I should write that down. Yeah, it's a wonderful experience that I had doing stand up. The only thing is, it took me away from LA because you have to travel, have to tour with it. So it took me away far too much that I was willing to sacrifice. So otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do all these other things. So it's bittersweet, but I would always jump at the chance to do stand up. And I always used to love just writing new material and just going up and going for it. Like, that was the challenge for me. I would never be that well rehearsed that I would know exactly what I was doing. I always loved more the element of improvising and having just a moment in the room that was unique to that time, location, situation. So yeah, I would definitely jump at it for sure.
Yeah, improv comedy is like top tier to me. If you've never heard of Felt Face, I'm a fan of him on TikTok too. He's amazing with the audience. So comedy.
Yes, he is. He's incredible.
Yes, I love Felt Face.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned living in LA. So obviously you moved around a lot. Why do you choose to be in LA and stay there?
I've been here now since 06. So it definitely, at that point in entertainment, video games, it definitely, so many projects came out of Los Angeles. The landscape's changed a lot, a hell of a lot. And so I don't know that it's as crucial to be here. There is still a lot of stuff that's done out of the big studios here and the big gaming studios too. But equally, there's a lot happening in Canada. There's a lot happening in France, in Ireland, in the UK, in Australia. Like, a lot of studios have expanded out, and a lot of productions have expanded their reach as well. And I think what's a very interesting point, Anne, is that COVID changed a lot of how the industry operated, because we had to do a lot of remote recordings. I'm in my studio now, and I had to record, for big companies in here, including Call of Duty, Activision, and DreamWorks. And so I think that just leveled the playing field a bit in terms of studios being nervous to have stuff, recorded outside of their studios. So I think it created a new norm. So now I think it's a lot more acceptable that if you're not in LA, it doesn't matter if they want you, and you've got a facility like I have, a studio, then they're happy to record. So yeah, I just still love the energy here. There's still a great sense of camaraderie here, and so many talented people in LA. And I like the hustle still in LA. So yeah, but it's not out of a choice that I have to be here. And I think that's changed a lot.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're happy where you are, which is good. You got to be happy
Yeah.
where you live.
Yeah.
With that bringing up the voice acting, a lot of people want to know how you've gotten started, and if you had tips for people who want to follow what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I never started out to even be in voiceover. I started out as an on-camera TV host presenter, a friend of mine knew that Disney were auditioning for a new channel called Playhouse Disney for their preschool audience. So I auditioned for that in my late 20s.
Oh.
And I got that, and I was thrilled, and it was a wonderful experience. And then shortly after that time, a big network in the UK was looking for on-camera presenters to launch a new channel. So I was like, great. So I auditioned for that, and I got that. And we did that for about 6 months. And almost overnight, they decided, we don't want to do it on camera anymore. We want to do it just as a voiceover. I keep referring to this. This is just out of shot, but my mic. So I said, well, do I still have a job then? And they said, well, if you want to do the voiceover side, you can just stay on and do that. So I did. I stayed there. And it's a very British thing that we have continuity announcers. So we pop up on a end of a show on the credits, not on camera, just as a voiceover, and we tell the audience what's coming up next and those sorts of things, and then we introduce the show at the top of the show. I don't know if anyone else does that. I think it's a very British thing. Hello, welcome, good evening. And they don't know your name, they just hear your voice, which has freaked a lot of people out on TikTok when they realized that it was me doing that. And so it was a baptism by fire, I think, because a lot of them were live announcements to the UK population. There's about 60 odd million people, and a lot of them were live. So I really cut my teeth in voiceover doing that. And we didn't have a producer, a director or anything. We wrote our own scripts. We timed ourselves in and out, and we'd literally have an engineer outside who was queuing up all the TV shows. You'd see this sort of red slot, which was your time slot for your announcement. And if you had 10 seconds in your announcement, you want to finish on 9 seconds. Otherwise you get, so it was all automated. So there was no, it was like a rail service, a train service. It all had to run on time, and there was no shuffling the schedule around, So that's how I got started. So, and I really enjoyed it. And then a friend of mine said, you should really go to LA. There's so much stuff's happening out there. And so I thought, oh, that's probably a good idea. Maybe I'll go out there and to see what it's like. So I only came out for a quick trip for a couple of weeks, and then thought, oh, I really like this. So I actually signed up for an acting course for, I think it was a 6 or 8 week acting course.
Oh.
Yeah. And I came out here and I did acting, and I did stand-up comedy, and I did improv, and I really loved it all. And that really made me decide, gosh, I think I'm just going to move out here. Meanwhile, still doing all my stuff in the UK. Anyway, I reached out to an agent out here, and they said, yeah, this is great. We've actually had some interest for you from E Entertainment. So they said, if you can get your visa and stuff, we'd love to take you on. So that was kind of, the offer at the time. So I did just that. I got my work permit. I came out here, found a place to stay, and started working on E Entertainment doing voiceovers. And I did voiceovers for quite a while. And then just by, being in the right place, I started getting voice acting roles. And one of the very first ones was for Lego, for Hero Factory. This little guy here, who was Nex in Hero Factory, was my first character that I voiced on the TV show. And I've sort of not really wanted to look back after that. I just loved it. So I've done not so much on camera stuff, but voice acting. I just really love it.
So it kind of sounds like you threw yourself in there and it kind of snowballed into something bigger.
Yeah. And my advice to anyone wanting to try this is just that. I think try and find an acting class, an improv class, a voice acting class before you make any kind of big financial leap or career leap. Try and find somewhere where you can experience uh, an acting class, a performance class, because that's really what we do. We are storytellers, we are creatives, and we love what we do. And I think that's the real key, is that we love this form of performing voice acting, because it is very different, because there's no sets, there's often not even any other characters, people to play off. All those lines I did for Hogwarts Legacy were all recorded, what we call wild recorded, which is just you on your own. So all those dialogues and everything. So it is a very different experience. Having said that, all of the experience I've had with stand-up comedy, improv, and acting have all played a big part in voice acting. And they're all very much a very important part, because along that way, you learn to take direction. You learn to drop any inhibitions that you have. You learn that you're only human, and that's actually what they want. So don't worry about mistakes and, forgetting lines too much. They booked you because they want a human emotion behind it. But you can only learn any of that by doing. So I think if you think you want to try voice acting, do just that. Try something along the performing arts, and you've got to like it. You've got to really, more than like it, probably you've got to love the process. Otherwise it's not much point in doing it. You don't want to do it because it's cool and it'll look good on TikTok, and it'll impress my friends. Yeah, that's not going to get you there.
We don't believe this, but according to Fandom Wiki, Victor Rookwood was born 1868, which makes him 23 when we killed him. And do you feel like Victor Rookwood is actually 23, or do you feel like he might be a little bit older?
I think I was playing him a little bit older.
Okay.
Not much. I would have said maybe early 30s.
Maybe. That's what we thought. It's just online, the numbers are different, but we have to figure out what to put on your sweatshirt there.
But having said that, the caveat is that that Dumbledore is 150 odd, or so time clearly works very differently in the wizarding world. So
that's very true. That is very true. He could just be very well, I'm thinking he's just very stressed out. You said everything was internal, so it's just coming out that way.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Let's see. And another one was so I noticed that you go by both Jason Anthony and Jason Canning. What is the purpose of that?
Yeah, that Canning is my family name, and when I first started out in stand-up comedy, I used that name, and when I moved more into acting, I decided to use my middle name, which is Jason Anthony.
Oh. So yeah. Jason Anthony Canning.
Yeah, and it was my dad's idea, really. He said, you should, why don't you use Anthony? I said, I'm using the family name. And he was like, yes, but Anthony, it's like Mark Antony, Cleopatra. I said, oh, yeah, well, that's a good point. So I thought, actually, maybe it has got a better ring to it. I'll use my middle name. So voila.
There you go. Thank your father.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Let's see here. Someone asked if you think Jason Anthony is bald under his hat.
Is what? Sorry.
Is Victor Rookwood bald under his hat?
Is he bald? No, I think he's a full body of hair underneath that.
That's what I think. I think that.
Yes.
Okay. So do you have any other projects you're proud of outside of Hogwarts Legacy? Like something we could look into and get to know you more?
Yeah, a project I is very close to my heart is Piney the Lonesome Pine. Um, it's a beautiful Christmas animation, and I play Piney the Christmas tree. And I'm a huge fan. I love Christmas. It's probably my favorite time of year. I love everything: music, food, Christmas decorations, everything. Gift giving, gift receiving, the whole thing. So yeah, it's especially close to me because of being immersed in that Christmas spirit. But it's also a lovely story, and I got to work with some incredible people. Simon Pegg again,
Right.
obviously Professor Black in Hogwarts Legacy, and he plays my best friend in this animation called Jackster. Um, and then I also got to play opposite Sir Jonathan Pryce as well, and Leslie Nichol from Downton Abbey. Mrs. Patmore is in that. Wonderful. So that's a lovely, very lovely animation, beautifully created by V House Animation. So I'm very, very proud of that. I'm very proud to be a part of the Call of Duty franchise. It's an incredible community, as I find with pretty much all of the gaming communities. There's, you know, they as much like, you know, a good gaming experience as much as they bond to the characters, you know. And until I until I really started to do a lot of video games, I didn't realize how important the story and the characters are to this experience. So by playing Otter in Call of Duty, in Modern Warfare 2019, I was really overwhelmed with the outpouring on TikTok from fans, and I know they want him back. I again, you asked me about this about Hogwarts Legacy. I would love to come back to the Call of Duty franchise as Otter, you know. And equally with Warhammer, it's been just a lovely community of gamers playing Techless, the Lawmaster. So they're all very, very different genres, but equally they all have their fan base, and everyone's been. And I've only really experienced this having been on TikTok. You know, that's really. I never really got into Instagram much, and of course, because it was sort of photo driven,
Right.
that's not what I do. So, you know, being able to have this incredible platform to show what I do, and to share that with fans and give them a platform to reach out to me, has just been wonderful. You know, really, really a lot of credit goes to TikTok for creating that platform, because I think it's saved a lot of people. You know, especially when it came out during lockdown. The timing was good and bad. You know, nobody wanted that to happen to the world, but equally we embraced TikTok at that time, and it really connected people. And ultimately, and that's all I want to do through my work is just help connect people, and let's have a common thing we can talk about, and moan about if you want to. It's the you know, it doesn't all have to be you know, fireworks, but
Right.
but just the collective conversation is just so healthy. And if I can do that through video games, through animation, through, you know, audiobooks, whatever it is, if it can create a conversation with like-minded people, then I think that's a good thing.
That's great. That actually answers my other question: is what drives you? And it sounds like the people drive you, community, fans, fans.
Yeah,
That's what drives you.
it is, because without it, they don't need us.
That's true. That's
you
true.
know, and if we can't create some kind of change, and it doesn't have to be a massive change, but if we can't evoke some kind of change or an emotional reaction to something, then they don't need us. That's really, I think, what I feel is our job as actors, is to be given a character and be given a platform to either create a conversation, create an emotion, an attachment, a detachment, whatever it is, or all of the above. But and that's funny. Going back to Peeves, he got such an emotional reaction, but it was the right reaction, and I'm glad it got a reaction. I think the worst thing, for an actor is if they play a character and somebody's like, oh, okay, and you can only hope that you get those roles in your career that really do, evoke a strong reaction.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. We're almost done here. So what do you like to do outside of voice acting? Voice acting obviously is a very big part of you. You voice act, you voice overs. It's part of your job. It's how you make a living.
Yeah.
But what do you do outside of that? What makes you happy?
I love gardening.
Really? Gardening?
I was brought up, you see, my mum is a huge avid gardener. She's got a lovely big garden in England, and we've always had, very fortunate, we've always had a nice big garden growing up. And I always used to love helping my mum in the garden, either digging or sweeping leaves in the autumn. Or the fall, I should say, and planting in the spring and growing vegetables and stuff. So I've sort of carried that through my life, and I just find it a very cathartic thing to do, is to just go out and trim hedges and prune and weed. It's almost like a life analogy when you're taking out the weeds.
Right.
And beautiful flowers grow, so I just really enjoy it. I also love doing DIY. I love carpentry. My latest creation was building a ranch style fence at the front of our property. I've just finished a whole giant 8-foot long fence down the side of the house, cementing posts in and building the framework and painting. And I've just done 2 giant gates at the side of our house, big wooden gates. I've done finished work inside the house, putting beams up, and I love that as much as doing the TikTok videos and creating through digital, through the digital form. I love doing it physically too, whether it's green fingers or nails and power tools.
That's great. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. You like being active, putting your hands to work. I like to do that. You don't like to sit around. So
No.
I guess knowing that about your hobbies, would you consider yourself a Hufflepuff, or what house are you put in?
Well, they put me in Gryffindor, which I probably think is I could easily probably get on well in Hufflepuff too.
That's true. Yeah,
I could. I think if the questionnaire went a little bit deeper, I could probably easily have been pushed into Hufflepuff. I wouldn't be mad either way.
All the houses are great.
Yeah, they are. They're wonderful. They're just all so so distinct and unique to the individual's qualities and aspirations and stuff. It's just so clever, isn't it? I mean, my gosh, you have got to take your hat off to J.K. Rowling. Just incredible. Because when I grew up, we had houses at school. I was in Windsor House. There was Stuart House. And then there was two others, and I cannot remember. But I distinctly remember, yeah, when we went to our secondary school, so from 11 to 16, we were in houses in school. So that wasn't quite such a, oh, wow. But, how J.K. Rowling approached the houses and creating the style and the mascots and the qualities attributed to those houses, I think, oh, that's really clever. That's
That
really
is
good.
very clever. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Being born in America, there's so many things to learn. So that's actually really nifty. I need to.
Yeah, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
was there a character in Hogwarts Legacy that you wanted to voice but did not get to?
No, no, not really. No, I was very lucky with the characters. It was wonderful playing opposite opposite my peers as well in certain scenes. I think the only thing I would say, but this isn't how it works, and that's fine. But it would have been really lovely to have done some of those voice acting sessions opposite
Oh,
my. Yeah, we did do some of that with the motion capture, which is a whole different conversation. But that's the only thing I wish would happen more, is that we could actually play those scenes opposite each other.
that seems more fun. It gets you into
Yeah,
it.
and it's a rare thing these days. It's very, very few times that you will record with an ensemble cast. And there's no doubt about it. There is an extra magic that happens. Not to say that there isn't when you're just playing on your own too. But there is, I think, a little extra bit of magic. But these are all things that play into how things are made and how's the best way to approach it. And one of the big deciding things with audio is that they have to get a clean audio track for each character, so there's no stepping on lines there. Your mics generally stay open if you're doing an ensemble read, so you've got to be very careful. This is where the technical aspect of voice recording really probably wins out over the actual artwork of the artistic nature of voice acting, because the microphone is very sensitive. You've got a room full of people, even though you've got panels and shields around you. The most important thing is that they get the performance and they get it nice and clean, and then they can do what they want with it. So there is that technical, just like with acting, for films and stuff. There's so much that's got to just be right. It's not just about getting the performance. Everything about that scene has got to, work out just right. So much going on in the background.
Right, right. And I don't think a lot of people realize that, because when they think voice acting, they just think, oh, you're just going to stand in front of a microphone and get it done. But there's a lot of aspects. There's a lot of people. There's moving parts. It's just like regular movies. You have to really get into it.
Yeah, and we have to sort of stay on this.
Right.
We can't even be like, oh, what are you talking? We can't be off there. So whatever we're doing, we have got to stay in this hot zone here. And you've got to, the engineers are incredible. They're wizards, and they'll be literally on their mixing board, adjusting the levels so that you're not blasting the mic out. So there's a real dance going on behind the scenes that nobody. We had an incredible. His name's Dutch. And he works at Warner Brothers, and we did a lot of recording with Dutch, the engineer. And he's just, if you never hear from the engineer, they're good. They're just doing their thing, and it is a real, it is a real art in itself to capture a performance.
Okay.
Especially us guys. doing goblins and
Oh
whatnot.
yes. Like I mean you have so much range. You had all those characters to voice. I can only imagine how much engineering that took.
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, from screaming and shouting to whispering, and yeah, it takes a lot. Yeah.
So do you have any meet and greets planned in the future to meet the fans that you've accumulated?
I'm waiting on some. I have just reached out to. I have an agent for conventions, so I just got back from a long trip to the UK. So I'm just waiting to hear back from him. But I hope so. I think it's the fandom that create the demand that make these decisions for us. So if they want to see people, actors from Hogwarts Legacy, then if they make enough noise, I think we'll be there basically. Yeah,
I'll let the fandom know. It's time to make
yeah.
some
Let them
noise.
know.
I suppose, do you have any thoughts or questions for the fandom themselves?
I wonder if is it commonplace? I know people are playing the game uh, through each house. I know that's quite a common thing. So
Right.
playing the whole game, but through the different houses. I just wonder, is there kind of like a comfort level where even if you've done all of that, you still kind of miss it and just want to jump into the game just to wander around Hogwarts or go to Hogsmeade?
Oh, okay. Well, I can answer that too. I'll still have that
Okay.
answer, but so I'm kind of a completionist. I haven't done every single house because people do it to get the trophies, right? They want to do all the houses
Yes.
all done.
Yeah.
Then, but yeah, some people jump in because it's such a big world. You know, they're the vivarium, and so some people they go in and they just make the vivarium their own place. Some people go
Yeah.
explore the land because it's just like you said, it's so beautiful. They try to make it like the Scottish Highlands, so they want to see what's out there. They want to look at all the animals, what the wizards are doing. They like to see some like the small details of people getting yelled at or people painting what they're looking at. So yeah, the fans, some wish the story was longer, but that also gives them time to go in and explore the video game itself. They love it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's always a good sign if they wanted the story to be longer, you know,
Yeah.
because I mean, as much as I'm sure the creators, Avalanche would welcome that. There has to be a cutoff point. This has already been 6 years in the making. If they do make another one, I'm sure it will have to be quicker.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise we'll all go mad. But no, that's just really interesting because I know it's very customizable in those different rooms, rooms of requirement and stuff. And I just that's just really interesting that people want to go in and make it literally their own space. And it's lovely. I guess it's lovely to really hear that there's somebody referred to it as I think their comfort game.
Oh
Does
yeah.
that resonate with you?
Yes, yes, it does. Not always. I mean, I'm always doing something, but for people who make the time, some people even lose sleep just to go and play the game because they get to be immersed. They get to create, like you said, the room requirement gets to be their own thing.
Mm,
And then they get to meet the characters again that they fell in love with, and they get to remake their own character. It's kind of like their own version of, I guess, Animal Crossing, Minecraft. Those are really big games that people just go on to do. And in Hogwarts Legacy,
yeah,
you get the choice to relax, but you also get the choice to follow the story. And some people just
yeah.
love doing both back and forth.
Are you finding new people coming to the game even this late in? I know we've still got the Switch to come out.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I still have people. I had someone comment the other day asking about what the game was, and they were on my TikTok because I was posting something about Severus Snape. And of course, with the HP fandom, they're always coming in people are questioning, oh, maybe I should play this game. Do you prefer PC? Do you prefer console? And then
Right.
people falling in just into the fandom itself, they've never played the game, but they have so much interest because the lore and the art is just so amazing. People are being drawn in, and which is great because I feel like the fandom is a great place to be, and they love the whole aspect. They love the game. They love you and the other voice actors. So it's been a great loving thing for everybody.
I've got one question. Have we got time?
Yeah, we got time.
I wanted to know if you could bring Rookwood back, would you, and how?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we absolutely love to see Rookwood. I mean, there's always, there's a lot of fanfics. And so some people, they do alternate universes, or they
Right.
say maybe it looks like you killed Rookwood, but in reality he escaped and you didn't know. So I would actually love to see him because he had a great story lore on the wiki fandom, but you didn't really get to experience that in the game. You want to learn more about the villain. You want to really be able to get a feel of him. So if some magical reason Warner Brothers created a way for Rookwood to actually be alive, and maybe he escaped, or maybe it wasn't him, it was someone that looked like him, doing his patsy job, that'd be amazing to me. But
oh, right, like
yeah.
like if somebody had a
Polyjuice.
polyjuice.
Yes, that was one of a theory that maybe the person we killed wasn't
Yes,
because of him being so he's a crime lord, and so it was kind of too easy to defeat him. And so there's kind of some theories that maybe that wasn't him, or it was a trick. But yeah, Rookwood himself, he's a character that a lot of people really would love to see him come back if it was possible.
Our interests are aligned.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I appreciate you being here doing this
Thank
with
you.
me. I love it, and I love you so much. Do you have any last words for the fandom?
Just to say thank you so much. It's been just overwhelming, the response to the game, and to have this shared experience after the game's been out even 6 months now is lovely, and I just hope there's more to come. But just really to thank everyone for jumping in and creating their legacy.
Thank you so much. And I'll cut this part out to edit, but do you think you could say some Rookwood lines as Daddy Rookwood? Because I'm pretty sure you understand, like, people love his hoarseness, or your hoarseness, how he sounds. They just love you saying Daddy Rookwood, or I guess some people like to hear Good Girl. I don't know if you would be allowed to do that.
Oh, right. Good girl, is it?
Yes.
All right, how about this? Oh, come now. Let's be a good girl, shall we, for Daddy Rookwood? After all, our interests are aligned, and, well, I think Anne's done a splendid job of, let's say, interviewing Victor Rookwood. So the next time you're in Hogsmeade, don't be a stranger. Pop in. The butterbeans are on me.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Mr. Jason. I hope
you're welcome.
I hope this is a great friendship to come.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. And give my love to all the fans. And thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you so much. You have a great day.
All right. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Anne.